welcome to my channel. My name is Ayola Igwe Silvanus, but you can call me Mr. Ayola, or if you like AY, or if you like Ayola. I am a Jesuit teacher and a WAEC examiner. So in this content, or in this video as the case may be, I intend to draw the attention of literature students to how they are expected to present their analysis when they are taking WAEC literature essays, how they are expected to present their analysis when they are taking WAEC literature. And now this content is very valuable for both students who will be taking WAEC this year, 2025, or any other year. So this is just a general overview on how you are expected to present your answers. Meaning that as an examiner, when we are grading your essay, the things I want to talk about are the things that are expected to be there. Yes, they are expected to be there, and in a particular fashion. So some students are not familiar with the fashion or the pattern in which this work should be presented. But with this video, you will be very familiar with how the structure of presentation and what should come after each paragraph. Alright, without taking much of your time, let's jump right into it. Okay, so how to approach WAEC literature essays. How are you expected to approach your essay questions? Number one, you have relate the question to the theme. So when you want to answer an essay question in literature, it is expected that you know, or that you relate your question, the question that has been given to you, to the theme. Relating the question to the theme is what is captured in the first paragraph. You are expected, if you know what you're doing, that you capture that in the first paragraph. How do you do that? Now, before you relate the question to the theme, which I will give you a general overview on how to do, in that your first paragraph where you're expected to do what is on your screen, you're first expected to identify or discuss or mention briefly what the text from which the question is coming from is about. You will capture the subject matter in that first paragraph. Then you will move to identifying the themes that has been explored in that particular text. And then finally, in that first paragraph, you will then relate the question to the theme. You remember that theme is the central idea, or the ideas that a literary work explores. And so the central idea of that literary work, you will relate that question back to it. Let me give you a general overview on how this is done. So let us say that you have been asked to examine how women are treated in second-class citizen. Second-class citizen is one of the prescribed texts for students taking WAEC literature exams 2021 to 2025. So questions will be asked on that particular text this year. So examine the way women are treated in second-class citizen. How do you relate the question to the theme? So number one, you will tell us what second-class citizen is about in that first paragraph. Still in the first paragraph, you would identify the themes that has been explored by the text. And all of these things you will be doing, you have to be doing it in simple sentences. Simple sentences, and at the same time, the sentences should be as brief and as short as possible. So, for instance, you could say that the novel explores the theme of racial discrimination, full stop. Additionally, the text discusses or explores the theme of gender discrimination, full stop. You see the way I'm going about it? Sentences should be simple. Sentences should be as brief as possible. You just keep stringing them up together to build your points in that first paragraph where you are expected to relate the question to the theme. Now, I need you to know that this is very expedient or important. Why? Because as examiners, when we are grading your work, we grade every sentence you make that is a point and is scorable and is correct. So when you say that the novel explores the theme of racial discrimination, that is very correct in second class citizen. We'll give it a tick and continue looking at each of your sentences line by line in all of the paragraphs to identify which sentence you have made that contains a scorable point. Yes, that contains a scorable point. So you have to be intentional about the way you make your sentences. That being said, the final thing you do is where you now relate the question to the theme. So since the question is examine how women are treated, examine how women are treated. So you're relating the question to the theme could be something like you saying that the way women are treated in second class citizen reflects badly on aspects of African culture and how the society is generally structured in a way that is not favorable to the girl child and women. Full stop. Full stop. So I must also point out that you need to vary your sentences. As much as you should make simple sentences, you can also make complex sentences when it is needed. For instance, in me relating the question to the theme, it was expedient for me to, string up all of those ideas together to form one point. That is like that should be the last sentence in your first paragraph. This is what you do when you are very conscious of what you're supposed to do. Okay? And so that is for your for paragraph 1. While this is not while while all of this is not about what should be in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, this is what is expected to be in your work. Your work is supposed to have a minimum of 5 paragraphs. You can have more if you have the time, but you should have a minimum of 5 paragraphs, and this is me drawing your attention to what they should contain. All right. The next thing is that you should state your point sententially. Okay, but I'll backtrack a bit. Depending on the question given to you, examine the way women are treated in second class citizen. So what the second point is saying is that when you eventually start responding to the question, this question of examining how women are treated in second class citizen, examine how women are treated in second class citizen. When you eventually responding to the question, the first thing you will do is to state your point. Okay, now in stating your point sententially, the point you want to discuss, you have to first identify it. In English language we call it topic sentence. Okay, but in literature we call it point. You state the point you want to discuss that is relevant to the question you have been asked, which is to examine the way women are treated. Now, but for the nature of the question I am working with, that I just created so that we can have a clearer understanding of what you're expected to do. In your paragraph 2, you would be required to do what we call character identification. I should have even captured that here. But character identification is not always expected of you in all the questions you see. It is the way the question is crafted that will determine whether you're going to do character identification. Character identification comes into the question, or character identification is required of you if the question mentions the name of a character. For instance, the question I am working with, examine the way women are treated in second class citizen. That question has not mentioned the name of any character, so there will be no need for character identification. So what it invariably means is that in my subsequent paragraphs, that is where I would need to now answer the question by examining how women are treated. Now, in my paragraph 2, I am expected to, number 1, state my point sententially. So how are women treated in second-class citizen? This means that you need to draw an outline for your question before you start answering it, so that you don't mix things up. I know, or I remember, I recall that one of the ways women are treated in second-class citizens is that they are not given a say. They are victims of harmful traditional practice. How are women treated in second-class citizen? They are victims of harmful traditional practice. For example, Ma is not allowed to Ma is married off to Pa's brother immediately after Pa dies. The implication of that is that the aspect of certain African culture does not allow for women as adults to take a decision on what they intend to do with their lives, whether they want to remarry at the when their husbands die or not. That's a harmful traditional practice. So my point there would be, women are victims of certain harmful traditional practices, or certain harmful traditional practice. That is my point. That would be my point. Okay, that would be my point. Another point that will be captured in the next paragraph, which will be my third paragraph, would be, I have not developed that point. So this is me just drawing your attention to stating points before you develop them in each of the paragraph. Another point which I will capture in my outline is that women are victims of domestic violence. Certain women in the novel are victims of domestic violence, or certain women in the novel are victims of sexual violence, to be more precise, are victims of sexual what? Violence, full stop. That is another point which will be developed. So this is me just crippling down my points. Okay, that one of the points I will talk about is that women are exposed to harmful traditional practice. I'm also going to talk about the fact that women are victims of sexual violence. That's another point I'm going to capture. Okay, I'm also going to capture the point that women are emasculated. Okay, and that is the example of where Ada in England did not have the privilege. She complained about the fact that she could not do a family planning without the consent of Francis, because when she went to the hospital, she was given a paper in which her husband was required to sign as giving his consent that he was in tandem or in agreement with his wife for them to have a family planning. So I hope you get that point. So you're expected to first, in your outline, capture the points that you want to talk about. So number 2, state your point sententially. So as you state your one of your points, like now in your paragraph 2, certain women are victims of harmful traditional practice. That is you stating the point. Now, what is the next thing that you are expected to do? You are expected to do what? Provide evidence for your point. That's the very next thing to do. Evidence provision, or providing evidence for your point, is divided in 2. The first is that you would make reference to certain instances in the text where the question is coming from, where the point you have made earlier on in your opening paragraph is valid. You will need to validate or provide. That's the evidence thing now. You will need to validate your point In that opening line where you have told us that certain women are exposed to certain harmful traditional practices, or some women in second-class citizen are exposed to certain harmful traditional practices, depending on how you want to go about it. Full stop. You provide evidence for that. For instance, the example of Ma, that's one instance I'm making reference to. Yeah, so you provide evidence for your point. You provide as much evidence as possible. Then, in addition, another aspect of evidence is making direct quotation. Making direct quotation. A direct quotation is where you would quote word for word an aspect of the text that reinforces the evidence you have provided. And that is where literature becomes difficult. Now, that being said, what other thing is expected of you? Now, look at this. Let me take that back a bit. Okay, so explain the point by way of providing an informed analysis. That is where you now juggle up everything you have, the evidence, you start discussing them. You start discussing the evidence that you have provided on how, Ma was treated, probably provide a little bit of background of how Pa became sick or something and how he died, and how the narrator tells us that Ma, is married off to Pa's younger brother. You just juggle up all the points together. You provide an informed. You discuss you discuss the points with the evidence in a way that demonstrates that you read the text. You see these things I have itemized here. AI will not give you this. I want you to even try it out. Yes, I would want you to experiment. Just type in that question. Examine the way women are treated in second-class citizen by Buchi Emecheta. Just type it in on ChatGPT or any other AI tool of your choice and see the way it's going to present the answer to you. You would observe that in none of the paragraph would you see all of these points I have captured. Yes. And these are the things we grade. And that, of course, means that, from my experience, every student who used AI to answer essay questions in WAEC that I have graded, none of them were able to pass that particular paper. You have paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. So none of them were able to pass the paper I marked. None. So you have hundreds of students who have used it. You can tell some even make the mistake of also writing some of the things that we all know that comes with the numbers and things that are very relevant from the AI response. They just write it all into their answers. But the point is, leaving that out of it, they are still not able to answer the question the way the oracle is a marking guide, which is what I'm drawing your attention to, what the marking guide usually expects of the students. They are not still able to capture all of these things, and when all of these things are not captured, it becomes very difficult to scale through. All right, it becomes very difficult to scale through. So I take it for granted that you have been able to at least get a general overview of how you're expected to answer your question. Now let's move forward. I have a practice question here. So the practice question is: examine the rules Ada learned while in the hospital. So I'm going to give you a general overview on how you're expected to answer this question. I'm going to give you a general overview on how you're expected to answer this question. But I would not give all of the details in this. I will not give all of the details in this particular what is it called? In this particular content. Yes, I'm not going to give all of this, but I'll tell you exactly how you expected to answer it. But then I'm going to do another video where I would draw your attention to specifics, things that should be captured in your answer. So basically what I'm going to do with this question is to tell you how you expected, what is expected of you. Yes, which, since that's what this video is about, what is expected of you as a literature student. So in examining the rules that Ada learned while in the hospital, in paragraph 1, you relate the question to the theme. Now, in relating to the question to the theme, that last sentence is the last sentence in your paragraph 1 is where you actually do the relating of the question to the theme. Remember, in your paragraph 1, you capture what the second class citizen is about, mention the themes explored in sentences, simple short sentences, then finally relate the question to the theme. So relating the question to the theme will look like something like you saying that the rules that Ada learned in the hospital contributes to her growth. The rules that Ada learns in the hospital contributes to her growth, which is a very valid point. The truth is that Ada can be likened to a Bildungsroman, or if you like, is a dynamic character. She grows, she learns, her experiences shapes her, in the course of the novel. All right, so that's in your paragraph 1. In paragraph 2, you will do what we call character identification. You will do what we call character identification. Character identification is where you would identify Ada. In that first the question I used to explain what is expected of you initially, where I said examine how women are treated, no woman is mentioned, so you're not expected to do any character identification. Okay, but in this question, where the question mentions specifically a particular character, you have to identify the character by way of doing an analysis of that character, and that should usually come in your second paragraph if you know what you're doing. So the character identification will look like you saying that Ada is the protagonist of the novel, full stop. Ada is described as an Igbo tigress, full stop. Ada is the wife of Francis and the mother of 5 children, full stop. That's character identification. Okay, and those are scoreable points. So because as WAEC examiners, as we read through your character identification, we'll check if those things the points you're making are valid, and we'll tick them, and we tick them, and we'll continue ticking like that. And that will determine how many marks you get for that particular paragraph. Now, the third thing you're expected to do, in fact, what you're supposed to do in paragraph 3, 4, and 5 is to now answer this question by identifying the rules that Ada learned while in the hospital. You capture, there are actually 4 rules, and you have at least 3 more paragraphs. Like I said, you can write more than 5 paragraphs, but you must write a minimum of 5 to stand a chance of getting a reasonable score in each of the paragraph. You must stand a chance of getting a reasonable score in each of the paragraph. Okay, for you to get a reasonable score in each of the paragraph, you need to write a minimum of 5 paragraphs. Okay, so those 4 rules, you can, using your discretion, capture 2 in paragraph 3, capture 1 in paragraph 4, capture another 1 in paragraph 5, and don't forget, in each of those paragraphs, you state your point, you state the rule that Ada learned, you provide evidence for it, then you discuss relevant events that happened within the that space where that point was captured in the novel originally. Was Ada lying on the bed? Was she in the hospital? What was happening when she learned that particular rule? That will be captured in your analysis. Okay, you do that for paragraph 4, you do that for paragraph 5. All right, so in another video, I will be very specific on what you're expected to do. All right, so this is where I will draw the curtain. I think this video is pretty much very long, but I think you must have learned a lot from it already. So if you like this video, click on the like button, leave a comment. If there's any specific question you have, leave a comment in the comments section. Also share this video. Share this video to those who would, it will be relevant to. And I will see you in another video where I will be responding to that particular question there, that practice question. Thank you.